Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Show, and this is the Championship playoffs by numbers. Now, COVID obviously means that we don't have our normal run through to the playoffs this season. Normally, we get a week, and then we get the weekend games, the midweek games, and then probably 10 days through to the final, all squished in. Normally, a lot is said in between the end of the season and the playoffs actually happening. And sadly, a lot of it is absolute rubbish and a lot of myths perpetuated around the playoffs. I obviously will always look at the evidence and have looked at all of the numbers pertaining to the playoffs. So hopefully we can educate each other a little bit here with some stats, some facts and figures, a little bit of fun about the playoffs. Before we get started, I must just say this channel studies the championship. It does not study your club. So this video is stats that refer to playoffs that happened in the second tier, whatever it was called then, second division, first division, championship. So if you have a stat that's different for your club, but they've played in another playoff in another division, then don't come at me in the comments, because this video just refers to championship second tier playoff games. And we all know the format, don't we? Third, fourth, fifth and sixth every season. Third play sixth, fourth play fifth. And this year, Swansea and Brentford, Cardiff and Fulham will be going at it. And shall we try and debunk the first big playoff myth straight away? You hear it every single year. The team that misses out on second place, well, they're going to be psychologically done, aren't they? They're going to be beaten. They'll never win the playoffs. No, absolute rubbish. There are I think it's 33 now. Does that add up? 12, 18, 24, 33 playoff wins by position. Third place, 12 wins. Fourth place, 6 wins. Fifth place, 9 wins. Sixth place, 6 wins. So by quite a distance, given the fairly short sample size we've got, third place actually dominates the playoffs. And in 2 instances there, third place is statistically twice as likely to win as fourth place and sixth place. However, fifth place is giving it a good go there, but still only 3/4 of the wins that third place has got. So if you hear it said, if you're a Brentford fan, for example, and you hear it said, third place, they always miss out in the playoffs. No, they don't. That's not true. In semi-finals between third and sixth position, third has now won 21 and sixth has won 12. In semi-finals between fourth and fifth, much, much closer. Fourth has won 16 and fifth has won 17. So, again, if anyone says the playoffs are a lottery, no, they're absolutely not. Look, third place plays sixth place. They're 4 places higher above them in the league, and they're almost twice as likely to win the semi-final. Fourth and fifth, that are closer in the league, very, very close. Little bit of an outlier there with fifth, but in the main, it clearly goes with the league table. Does it not? In terms of reaching the final, historically, the third, sixth semi is 64%, as we've just said, won by third, and 36% won by sixth. So those are your historical chances. Whether that reflects what's going to happen this year, who knows? And fourth and fifth, 48% for fourth and 52% for fifth. You'll have to excuse me. This is a rarity. I'm off a script today because of all the numbers here. Since the playoffs started in 1987, 33 competitions, as we just said, 47 teams have taken part in 169 matches. Ipswich Town and Derby County are the teams that have appeared in the playoffs the most times, 8 appearances each. And fans of those teams will also know that means that they've lost in the playoffs a lot of times, because obviously, by definition, you can't play in the playoffs a couple of years running if you're winning in them. It's only 1 win each for Ipswich and Derby. So 16 appearances between them and only 2 victories. Go figure. There's been 3 different formats, but pretty much since 1990, it's been sorted. The final was moved to Wembley Stadium and then made a one-off game. Then, however, 2001 to 2006, finals were held at Cardiff when the new Wembley was being born. Now, for those people that say the playoffs are so unfair on 3rd place, I don't know why arbitrarily it's 3rd and it's not 2nd or 4th or whatever. But people have decided that the team that finishes 1 place outside the playoffs, I suppose if you finish 1 place outside of anything, there's some feeling of injustice. I'm not buying it personally, but I bet you're wondering who finished 3rd, scoring the most points, and then lost in the playoffs. There is your 97-98 league table, and you'll see there Sunderland, 90 points, and we can see with a little P next to Charlton that they are going to lose to Charlton in the final. So the highest point scored there was 90. If it makes you feel any better, whoever lost that final was going to be the highest point scorer, because the second highest point scorer is, in fact, Charlton there with 88, tied with Brighton 2016 and Pompey in 1993. Now, here's an interesting one, because if we have a highest point scoring loser, we've got to have a lowest point scoring winner. And that is Blackpool in 2010, I believe, under Ian Holloway, sneaking in the playoffs with 70 points. Now, hopefully, your brain should be ticking and going, hang on a minute, haven't Swansea got 70 points this season? Yes, indeed. Swansea could tie Ian Holloway's Blackpool by being the lowest scoring points-wise team to win promotion through the playoffs. Let's see if the Swans can do it. Last season, Aston Villa became the 24th different winner in 33 years. So a fair bit of diversity. Our most winningest team is Crystal Palace, the masters of getting promoted through the playoffs 4 times. 1989 with Wright and Bright there. David Hopkin curling one in 1997. Neil Shipley in 2014. And a player we're probably going to talk about lots in 2013, getting the winner from the spot. There have been another 6 two-time winners as well. So Leicester, Charlton, Bolton, Watford, West Ham and Hull have all won a second-tier playoff. I think in Charlton's case, that very first one was to actually stay in the Premier League, but they have won 2 second-tier playoffs. In terms of who actually performs best in these games, the win percentage kings are Swindon and Chelsea, have both won 75% of their playoff games. But even better than them, Hull, 83.3%, and Burnley are the kings here, the one team with the clean sweep, been in the playoffs once, won each of the 3 games, a 100% win percentage. I think it was Owen Coyle's Burnley, indeed. 5 teams have entered the playoffs just once and won at their first and only attempt. Burnley, Huddersfield, Notts County, QPR and Swansea. However, again, we've got about to Hull this time, who have been in the playoffs twice and won the playoffs twice. And I will reiterate at this point, I'm talking about second-tier playoffs only. Forget your League One playoffs and your League Two playoffs. 3 teams won the playoffs without conceding a single goal. Watford, 2006, that Burnley team, 2009, and Palace in 2013. Let's talk about players here for a second. 3 players have scored in every game, semi-final, semi-final, final. Can anyone do it this year? Jack Marriott came close last year. Craig Maskell for Swindon in 93. You can see him on the left there, bending in a goal in the final. Tommy Johnson, 94 for Derby. And then Bobby Zamora, sadly, 2 of those games were against my team, Ipswich, in the semi-finals. There, he scored in every game there. 4 players have scored hat-tricks. Will we get a hat-trick this season? Again, Jack Marriott was close last season, wasn't he? Jim Magilton in the greatest game I've ever seen in my life in 2000. DJ Campbell for Blackburn in 2010, both in the semi-finals. But take about Clive Mendonca and Scott Sinclair, who have scored a hat-trick in a second-tier playoff final. 12 players have scored for 2 different teams in the second tier championship, whatever you want to call them, playoffs. You can DM me for that, and I will give you those 12 players. I won't read them all out now. However, King, Super Kev, Kevin Phillips has scored for 3 teams in the second tier playoffs. Sunderland in 98, 3 more for West Brom's losing campaign in 2007. And finally, he won in 2013, scoring for Palace there, his 3rd separate team, becoming a winner 15 years after his first playoff campaign in the Championship. And it will come as no surprise that Super Kev is the top scorer in second tier playoff history. 2 for Sunderland, 3 for West Brom, 1 for Palace. He has 6. 4 players have scored in 2 separate finals. Tommy Johnson, we mentioned him earlier, scored in 91 for Notts County. Steve Walsh scored in 93 for Leicester, and then both of those players scored in the 94 final, meaning they'd scored in 2 separate finals. Indeed, Steve Walsh scored 2 goals in that final, both from set plays, if I remember correctly. The other 2 final goal scorers have massive gaps. Bobby Zamora, West Ham 2005, and then 9 years later in 2014 for QPR. And Kevin Phillips, Sunderland 98, 15 years later, as we said, Palace in 2013. Now, you can make any Ipswich Town fan shudder by mentioning the away goals rule in terms of the playoffs. 4 teams have won playoff semi-finals on the away goals rule. Keith Edwards scored an away goal to send Leeds through. Simon Garner for Blackburn, that was in 87 in 89. But in the 1990s, Ipswich Town lost 2 consecutive seasons on away goals, first to Sheffield United and then to Bolton. Then Ipswich chairman David Sheepshanks rightfully and successfully argued that the away goals rule was actually unfair on the team that finished higher in the division. Why? Because that team plays at home second. You couldn't get extra time in the first leg. Therefore, the away goal exposed the team that finished higher to 30 minutes more potential away goals to be scored against them. And Ipswich fans will know that on those occasions, away goals were indeed scored in extra time. I can't even remember who. Bob Taylor, Andy Walker, maybe not Sheffield United. I don't think they scored in extra time, but there you go. Away goals done away with in 1999. Before we go, a few anomalies to speak of to impress your geeky friends with if you're the same as me. 1987 was the only year a side didn't go from second to first tier. Obviously, that was when we had the top division playing off against the second tier, and the top division won that way. In 1990, Sunderland were the only team to be promoted after losing in the playoffs. I believe that must be the Swindon scandal, and they lost but were then promoted anyway. In 91, Borough finished 7th and got into the playoffs. That was the one year where it was 3 up and then 4 in the playoffs. Reading missed out in 95 for the opposite reason, as the Premier League was cut down in number. They finished 2nd in the table and then missed out in the playoffs. So Reading are the only team to finish 2nd in the second tier in this modern era and then not be promoted. Unlucky. My team, Ipswich, were the last team to win a playoff final at the old Wembley in 2000, Derby County. The first team to win at the new Wembley. Strange. The two most appearing teams there. Last one at the old Wembley and first one at New Wembley. And that was their only win in the 16 appearances between the two. And in 2017, we all remember, Huddersfield Town won the playoffs without winning any of the games outright. They drew all 3 matches. They won the semi and the final on penalty shootouts. And you won't be surprised to know that they had a German manager in charge to do that. I hope you've enjoyed that little whistle-stop tour of the Championship playoffs by numbers. And hopefully, when you hear this misinformation about the playoffs not going against the third place team, well, no, that doesn't appear to be the case. You're always going to get non-believers, I'm afraid, that think that the playoffs shouldn't be a thing. But I love the playoffs, even though my team's been in 8 times and only won once. Let me know what you think. Let me know your favourite playoff memories. And if you saw, indeed, any of those occasions that I have just been talking about take place, there's been some great playoff moments in second tier playoffs over the years. You can support this channel via Super Chat on YouTube or by subscribing on Patreon. If that's not your thing, then just leave a comment and a thumbs up and subscribe. That helps us. We have gone over 10,000 subscribers here on the channel. Thank you, everybody, for watching. That was the Championship Playoffs by numbers. If you enjoyed it, share it, comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Over and out.